On this episode of Delivering Marketing Joy, we talk with Marshall Atkinson about why you should create content and how to get started. Well, hey there, and welcome to another edition of Delivering Marketing Joy, available at Promo Corner. I'm your host, Kirby Hasseman, and with me today is a repeat guest, my man, Marshall Atkinson. Marshall's a promo kitchen chef, and he's also the program owner of the Inksoft Production Manager tool. Marshall's a content creation genius, and I appreciate him being on the show. Marshall, thanks so much for taking the time.
Thanks, Kirby. I don't know about genius.
Well, take it while you can get it.
I appreciate the compliment.
Yeah, for sure. So you and I have had a conversation before, and you explained to me, you were the first person to tell me about the 90-9-1 rule, where essentially 1% of any audience sort of is the content creators of that. And you are one of the industry's content creators for sure. So my question is, I think you have a track record of success. We know other people who've had success doing it. Why do you think more people don't create content?
Because it's work. Because it's work. Yeah. It's hard to do. And the other thing is people are scared, right? They don't want to write a blog article because it'll prove that you're illiterate, or they don't want to do something like this because they've got a face for radio, whatever. They're not doing that stuff because they're just scared. And if they get out of their own comfort zone and they get out of their own way and be brave, they'll be the champ, And I write blogs every week and have for years and years and years. I am not the best writer. There's tons of way better writers than me, but I know how to work a thesaurus, and I use a spell checker, and I just have an outline. In fact, if you look behind me, you can see my whiteboard. I've got blog article ideas all the way out to the end of the year about what I want to write about, because as things pop up, I'll throw it on my calendar, and I'm always looking for content, but I want to be relevant, so I'm always mixing that up and doing kind of things, and it's all about planning, and that's work. And people are scared of work, and so it's not easy stuff. Now, you can do a paragraph or two pretty easy, and so I just think it's about being consistent. Consistent is hard. You and Bill have your awesome podcast that you do, and it's great because you're consistent. Every single week you got some kind of funny, relevant thing coming out, and people want to know, well, what are those guys going to talk about this week, right? So that's what makes it work, and so, but you have to make time for it, which is what? It's work.
Yeah, no, you're right. And it's funny, it reminds me of something I say all the time, Marshall, that it's simple, it's just not easy, and there's a difference.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Totally agree with that. And, here at Inksoft, I just started doing a podcast. I don't know anything about that. I don't know anything about audio and recording stuff but I already have guests already recorded all the way through the end of the year. I've got shows already waiting to come out. And it's just because I'm lining them up. I'm doing the thing. I'm making it easy for them to participate. I'm just like you. I've got a set of questions already answered. I use a Google Doc. They know what it is. Yeah. I make them look good, which is important, right? Yeah. You make your guests look good, and then it's off to the races. And then, so the bigger question is, why would anybody want to even do this, right? Yeah. Why would you want to go through all this trouble? Well, why is called SEO value. It's called content. It's a branding. It's getting your name out there. It's that's why you do this stuff, is because before I started doing this, have you ever heard of me? No.
Well, it leads.
So that's why.
Yeah, it leads super nicely into my second question for you, which was simply, how has it helped your career? I mean, for those people who are going, okay, I get it, but why? Why should I do it? So, I mean, how has it helped you specifically?
Well, it's helped me get to where I am today in this lavish office. It's helped me get here to where I am today because I can go to a trade show and I can't walk 10 feet without somebody wanting to know about the article I just published or whatever. And that's really great. It's helped me close some sales because when I walk in a room, they already know who I am. It really, because that's why people buy from you. They buy because they like, know, or trust you, right? Yeah. So you get those out of the way because they've been following you for years. It's a done deal, right? Yeah. And so why did I get into it? And how did it work? Is frankly, I kind of lost my job and nobody knew who I was. And it's kind of the Bill Petrie method, right? I'll just invent my own interview process. Mm-hmm. And I was exactly the same way. We've had a conversation about that where, I needed to find a job, but nobody knew who I was. So I'm just going to start a blog so everybody will know. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what happened, and for $60 with GoDaddy, I've got a blog set up and you're off to the races. And that's all led to other jobs. It's led to other businesses. It's led to my job here, and because you're proving what you do every day when you publish that stuff. As long as, you're not a horse's ass or something, you're putting out good information, you're doing the right job. People see that and they respond to it. As long as you're authentic and sincere, trustworthy, and have good information, they'll be right there with you the whole way.
No, I think it's so interesting to me, and I guess that's why I asked the questions in the way I did, because so many people are telling you it's the right thing to do. And you said, we kind of talked about it's simple, but it's not easy. It takes work. But let's say you're listening to this, Marshall, and you're like, okay, all right. I've picked the lane. I'm going to blog. I'm going to podcast. I'm going to do a video, whatever. As someone like you who has created content for quite a time now, for somebody who's thinking about stepping into that, what advice do you have? What steps?
Well, the first thing I think you should think about is who your audience is and what do they enjoy, right? Are they readers? Would a video be better? Right. And then what tools do you have available? A lot of people don't know how to write. I made a crack about being illiterate, but a lot of people don't like to write because it's hard work, and they know they're going to be judged by it. So video is pretty easy to do because you can just use, you use Skype. Other people can just use their camera or whatever. And let me tell you, so it's real easy. You don't even have to show your face. You could just be their narrator, right? Yeah. And show products being used, right? And that kind of stuff. Hey, let me show you this quick 30-second video of this thing. How many times have you seen online, I just got this package in the mail. Let's open the box and see what's in it, okay? Right. And then that's got 25,000 hits on it. And you're like, what? They opened the box and people viewed. It's just crazy, okay? Anybody can do this. They just have to be brave enough to set up the camera and talk while they're opening a box. Yeah. So, but you got to think about who is going to view that, and then what do you want them to do after it, right? Mm-hmm. So they would just watch this box opening video. Is that going to sell you any more widgets or not? So you got to think about how you're going to link that. And so, so that's it. You just got to get out there and do it. That would be my advice. And just try it and fail and be a flaming mess and don't worry about it and learn from that. Because I've made a gazillion, I'm sure you have too, a gazillion false steps and toe stubs, and that one hurt. I'll never do that again. Right. And then you just move on,
Yeah, I think it's great advice, Marshall, is that you need to, sounds like if I'm hearing you right, you got to be brave enough to put yourself out there, and then you have to be consistent in doing it, whatever path you choose. So I think that's really good advice, man. Mm-hmm. All right, well, you've answered my 3 questions. I give everybody the chance to ask me a question. Do you have one for me?
I do. I've got 2. Okay.
All right, bring it.
So, all right, left hand is one question. Right. Well, hold on. Left hand is one question. Right hand is another question. Which question do you get?
I'm super confused of which hand is which, but let's go with
thunder or lightning. Which one you want?
Let's go with the right hand. I don't know which
the right hand. Okay. So you're famous for reading lots of books. You just posted on LinkedIn the other day about I need some more books to read, right?
Yes.
So when you posted that, and I should have written this to you, but now I saved it for this this opportunity. So here it is. So what has been the biggest takeaway that you've had when you've read a book that you put into immediate action? Because I read a lot of books and I'm always trying stuff, but sometimes they're successful, sometimes they're not. So I want anecdotally, right? You read this book and then you went out and bam, something happened and it was a success. What was that?
Okay, can I give you a couple?
Sure, it's your show.
Okay, it's cool. So, but there were some very specific ones. So, years ago, I read a book called High Trust Selling by Todd Duncan. It's not one I talk about very much, but he talked a lot about the 80-20 principle and how we need to spend, if we want to be successful in sales, we need to spend 80% of the time on the 20% as opposed to the opposite. And so it advised that I hire an assistant. After I read that book, I hired an assistant, and my company hasn't been the same ever since. The book Profit First by Mike Michalowicz, it actually talks about ways in accounting of your business that changed the way we account for our business. And I mean, we implemented that very quickly, and that was a painful transition to do, but that's been really good. And then more recently, The 4 Disciplines of Execution. That was a book that they talk about how, when you go to implement a new strategy, it's really easy to get lost in the whirlwind. You come back from a conference, you're all excited, and you're like, hey, we're going to do this new thing. And then everybody gets busy with life, right?
Right.
And so 4 Disciplines of Execution was one that allowed you a framework for trying one new thing each month or each quarter, and we've implemented a bunch of that. So the concept being that there's one important goal, and then you have a weekly meeting, and that there's a scoreboard about it, and we still do that.
So it's like a sprint.
Yeah, like a Scrum sprint. Yeah. It's actually very similar to Scrum. But yeah, those are 3 that when you ask, those just popped into my head right away, and we're still doing all of those. So.
Oh, that's great. Those are good answers.
Cool, man. Well, Marshall.
Hold on.
Okay.
My phone's ringing.
Okay.
You'll have to call back.
I love it. Well, dude, thank you so much, Marshall. I really appreciate you taking the time, and we'll have to do it again, okay?
Yeah, well, thanks, Kirby. Take care.
All right. Well, that wraps up this edition of Delivering Marketing Joy. We'll see you next time.